What's up, mi gente? It's Anthony Rosa, the community finance coach, aka Mr. Remedy. I'm really excited. I want to say Happy New Year. This is our first Money Monday show of the year, 2026. I'm here with my homegirl, Angie Perez. Angie, say hello to everybody.
Hey everyone, I'm Angie Perez. I work with Keller Williams. I'm a realtor and I just launched a new website called Say Yes to the Address. So I'm happy to be here today.
Say yes to the address. That is our campaign today. Say yes to the address. If you're watching live, comment live. If you're watching on the replay, hashtag replay. Angie, what do you want them to say right now? What was that?
Say yes to the address.
Say yes to the address. What does that mean? Angie, tell the viewers, why are we doing this today?
Okay, so when I think about all the things that we say yes to in life, we say yes to what college we're going to go to, what person we're going to marry, including what house we're going to buy. Those are all big decisions. So when you say yes to the address, what that means for me is you're planting roots. You know, you're really making a big decision in your life, just as much as those other decisions and your college, your partner. Those are all things that, you know, can be nerve-wracking for people. So I want to be able to bring people a stress-free evaluation on what it really means to buy a house and how to really prepare yourself, you know, like give you the ins and outs.
Yeah, absolutely. So please like, comment, share, engage with us. This year, I'm coming in 11 years as a financial coach. I'm in 17 states. I've coached over 5,500 individuals. I've scrubbed over 90,000 credit reporting pages. I'm really excited, Angie, to be having this conversation. So let's jump right in.
Yeah. So when I contacted you, I think I contacted you with like almost like a biased opinion as to whether or not credit repair actually works. I'm not 100% sure if I was one of those people that believe that there's an actual person that can help you with your credit, partly because my assumption was that the only thing that repairs your credit is time, like giving yourself distance from your bad credit or from your bad mistakes and start reestablishing better new credit, you know, new history that people can look towards and say, okay, well, this person is disciplined. If I give them $500,000 for a house, they're going to pay back the mortgage, you know. So I wanted to really go deeper into that topic of credit repair, like what to look for, what people can actually repair, you know, so kind of going deep on that.
Yeah, so does credit repair work? If anybody's watching right now and you have some credit issues, if you're below a 680, 660, if you're below that, then, you know, note takers and money makers, please, again, reach out to me or Angie if you have any questions. But does credit repair work? Now, you know, for me, Angie, I started my banking career in 2014. And I was a banker with Wells Fargo. So I was corporately trained there. And when someone would get denied because of their credit issues, my job as a banker was to give them an adverse action letter, kind of let them know to contact the credit bureaus. And I was really not allowed to kind of be hands-on in that process. But for me, Angie, as you can imagine, people having bad credit or getting denied, you know, I wasn't just, you know, a McDonald's drive-through, just how would you like your order, right? I want to educate you. I want to help you. And so what I would do is I would order the copy of the credit report with my client when I was a banker. This is before Fresh Start even started. Fresh Start started in 2015. I left banking in 2019. It took me really 4 to 5 years about just to kind of really grasp everything, make an adjustment of my personal income, right, so that I can do this full time. And so when you're looking at credit, there are 5 credit factors. Sometimes individuals really don't know where to start. For example, you have a low credit score. You have accounts that were charged off now in collections. You have attorneys sending you letters from a judgment. You have limited income. You're kind of overwhelmed with everything. You don't really know what's the first step, right? Do I pay these accounts? Do I try to get a new credit card? What do I do? And so I'll ask the viewers now, if you have bad credit or no credit, sometimes what would you do if you were in that? Angie, what would you do or say to someone, like, because I know how you feel about credit repair. So say, what would they apply for credit, or what would you say?
So I was in a situation where I thought I had bad credit. Back in 2008, I had to do maybe 08, 09, I had to do a loan modification. And I remember calling my mortgage company and saying to them, hey, I'm going to be late on my mortgage. Because there's something that I could do now to kind of work on a modification. They're like, no, you literally have to be late in order for us to consider doing a modification. I knew that would ding my credit. So I did have a little bit of bad credit, like in back in 08, 09. So what I did is I started building new positive credit. I went to my bank, Wells Fargo, kind of like where you worked, and I said I need a secured line. I'll put $1,000 into this secured line, and it's my own credit card, my own money that I'm borrowing against. And I started building positive credit just by doing that one little action, taking my own money, putting it into a secured line, and then borrowing from myself and paying it back, at the end of the month. Kind of like if you had an American Express, at the end of the month, you're just paying back whatever you borrowed. So for me, that was how I started to rebuild credit back in 08. But I don't really know. That's why I'm on today. I want to know, like, what are the first steps people are really going to take in order to build positive credit, or maybe even are there things that people can actually remove from their credit? I mean, that's kind of like I'm coming in with a very basic knowledge. I want you to kind of educate me.
Yeah. So what are the first steps? The first step, right, when you're looking at credit repair, everybody has a different story. I don't believe in credit repair. I believe in changing your financial habits. Sometimes people, when I work with someone, Angie, I'll ask them these three questions. When you do a budget plan, do you do a mental budget, a paper budget, or do you just kind of pay as you go? When you're at the point of sale, do you use cash, debit, or credit? And then at the end of the month, is it hard to save or is it easy to save? By you answering these questions, I'm going to already understand how your credit got impacted. So if someone says, well, I'm a little bit free spirit, I don't do a budget plan, I use cash and debit card for everything, and it's really hard for me to save. And then they'll be like, Anthony, if I'm telling you the honest truth, I have a spending problem. Straight up. Now, Angie, in that scenario, the first step really is to create a budget plan. Find out what their break even is. Set them up on a credit card strategy to let their bills build their credit. Those are the first things. The next thing that I would do is I would verify the credit report. Because Angie, what you did for yourself back in 08 when you did the secured card for $1,000, that's great. You were proactive. You put $1,000, you were approved, but did you know that you can be denied for a secured credit card even with your own money?
No, I didn't know that.
You can be denied. Now, there are fintech companies, and I'm an affiliate with a few of them. Fintech banks that with $1,000, no, $10 a month, $20 a month for 1 year, 2 years, you're less than $240, and you're reporting a $3,500 unsecured credit card. So rather than me securing my $1,000 and only having $1,000 limit, there are other ways where you can get established and establish your line of credit history by letting your bills build your credit. So I would go to these fintech companies and I would establish 3 or 4 of these trade lines. What I'm talking about is what you're talking about as well, is adding more positive credit history through trade lines. Now, Angie, I really appreciate you bringing me, bringing this to my attention and to everybody else's, because truth be told, there's a study that shows right now that in today's day and age, today, February 2026, a lot of people are overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. They're overwhelmed with finances. They're overwhelmed with lack of work. They're overwhelmed with the food, and economy prices inflating a little bit, and it's affecting. So what I think is, let your bills build your credit. Angie, a lot of people think that credit is the devil. They think that, if I use credit, I'm going to get in debt. No, please let your bills build your credit. Right? And what I mean by that, you want to add something to that?
Yeah. What does that mean? That means my cell phone bill, my rental payment that I'm currently probably paying if I'm someone who doesn't own a home. Like, what bills are we talking about?
Keep going. What other bills do you pay?
Like utilities, I guess.
Utilities.
Like other credit cards that I'm paying currently. Those are my bills. Student loan.
Okay. But let's talk about like necessities. What do you think is a necessity?
Food, water, utilities. Those are my necessities.
Utilities. You pay light bill?
Yes.
Can you go on the utility bill and put a credit card and put an automatic payment and pay the credit card after you pay the card?
You mean go with my utility company and get a credit card from them?
No. What I'm saying is let your bills build your credit, right? So you do the budget plan and you identify, Your groceries, $150 a week, $600 a month. Your cell phone bill, $150. Your car insurance, $350. Your Easy Pass, $25 a month. You're eating out, right? Because if you're eating out 3 or 4 times a week and it's $15 to $20 every single day, 5 times, $100 a week, $400 a month. You get where I'm going with this? Let your bills build your credit. So now you have a secured card or a MasterCard or an Amex or a Discover. And when you're at the point of sale, you're using your credit card, but the cash or money that you had in the account, you're going to pay the credit card in full.
Right.
So today's Monday. I got to do groceries. I'm going to spend $150. I got to get gas in my car, another $50. That's $200. Today, my car note is due $550. I'm going to put all of that history on my credit card. I'm going to earn 3 to 5%, 3 to 5% on that card. I'm going to earn it back. And then guess what? The money that I had for those necessities, I'm going to go to my online banking and I'm going to make a payment. I use the card, pay the card. Use the card, pay the card. I never allow a balance to be over 15% by the cycle closing date. Because if you allow a balance to be over 15% by the cycle closing date, what do you think, everybody who's watching? If your credit card balances go up, is your score going to go down or is it going to go up? Angie, what do you think? If your credit card balances go up, will your score go up or will it go down? What do you think?
If you're using more than 40% of the limit, I think that it'll ding it. It'll impact it. Yeah.
Let's trim that down, right? You said 40%. I want to come down to 15%.
15%.
If you are over 30% of the utilization, your score will get dinged. 40% utilization by the end of the cycle closing date is too high.
Wow.
So if your due date is the 17th and the minimum payment is $25, but the cycle closing date is the 21st, just because you made the minimum payment by the due date, but your balance goes up by the 21st, guess what? Whatever balance that you have reporting by that cycle closing date is going to get updated to the credit report. If it's over 15%, your score will go down. So that's one of the ways as a financial coach that I recommend on how to work on rebuilding your credit. Let your bills build your credit, right? And Angie, I always ask, if there's holes in the boat, what do you do first? Do you patch up the holes or do you take water out? Quickly, you're sinking.
My first thought was you patch the holes. That was my...
You're proactive though, Angie. Look, if anybody is watching, you need Angie in your team. You need her you are proactive, right? Do you know how many people they tell me, take the water out? It don't work. So when we're thinking about credit is measured by 5 credit factors.
Okay.
So if someone has limited credit history, someone has limited age, someone who has bad payment history, someone who doesn't have a healthy credit mix, these are all different components in the pizza pie. So if you were to think about like credit as a pie, it's not broken into equal slices. Angie, what do you think is the number one reason why people damage their credit?
Bad payment history.
Bad payment history.
Yeah.
The number one reason why people damage their credit is because of payment history. And it's not all the time because they didn't have the money. It's because they forgot. Can you imagine that?
Yeah. I do.
And banks nowadays, they're not really good at doing goodwill adjustments, right? They're not, just because you send a dispute letter, they're not going to change the history just because, right? So yes, it brings me to my next point. There are some instances where you have to dispute. You never, ever, ever want to pay a collection right away. Just because you got a letter or a phone call, you do not pay that bill. You want to validate the bill. You want to validate the debtor that's collecting. Hey, portfolio recovery. Are you collecting on behalf, or I got a visitor that just came. Hello.
It's your
Hi,
daughter?
baby. Yeah.
Oh,
She's shy. She got her hair done by her sister today. You see that? So
yeah,
beautiful.
it's cool.
So beautiful. So when you get a debt collector and the debt collector comes, right? You want to request validation. You want to find out if they bought the debt or if they're collecting on behalf. And you want to make sure that they could provide all the necessary documentation to validate that debt. If they are not able to, guess what? They're violating your consumer rights. And in 30 days, if they don't respond correctly, it got to be removed. Now, if they don't remove it, you have all legal right to literally place a small class action suit against them. And in New Jersey, we use JEDS online. So that's one of the systems. I'll put a dispute. I'll put a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I'm going to call them, the creditors. I'm going to hold them accountable. I want the validation letter. I want the application signature. I want the statements. I want everything. And if they cannot provide that, then I'm going to hold them accountable. So budget plan, setting up a credit card strategy, letting your bills build your credit, validating your debt, setting up an on-time payment so that you don't forget, you don't forget randomly. And those are just some tactics that I would recommend, right? But what else? What else are some of you think? What are you thinking right now?
So part of it is that whenever I deal with credit repair people, I want to find someone scrupulous, ethical. I want to find someone who's actually going to help me, like rebuild credit if I need to rebuild, or if I need to establish credit, like to give me that advice. Like, what would you say are some of the scams that are out there that people should be wary of? Like, they should really like say, okay, I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to just say no. Like, tell me what you think is scammy out there.
You got to be very careful if they are like guaranteeing some type of results.
Okay.
You got to be very careful if they're saying, yeah, your score can go up 100 points in the next 6 months. You got to be very careful. You got to be careful with high ticket prices and match that with their reviews. Like if you go to my website and you look at my reviews, I have all 5-star reviews. And it's something that I'm very proud about. Not so many people in my industry can say they have all 5 stars. And then when you look at the stories behind them in the testimonies, you're like, wow, like some of these people that I deal with, they're going through things. Our family, our friends are going through things, and you wouldn't be able to see it sometimes. I don't, and for me, coaching as many people as I coached, like I think that a lot of people overpromise and underdeliver. I think that people have a lack of commitment and communication. I think that some agencies where they're designed to just submit dispute letters, that doesn't really help all the time. Submitting a dispute letter and then waiting for the reaction and then sending a dispute letter and then sending the reaction. Truth be told, I've had collection agencies that clients were with somebody else, like Aldo's Associates. If you have a collection with Aldo's Associates from like a gym membership, it could be like Retro, Powerhouse, that's reporting to TransUnion. You don't want to pay Aldo. Okay, yeah, I had a gym membership, but I moved. I thought I canceled it, but I'll pay the debt. No, if you do that, it's not going to get deleted. So, were you talking about ethical? Like most, if not, I don't. Honestly, Angie, I've been in the industry for 11 years. I don't know anybody who does it the way that I do it. And my intellectual process, I've kind of kept tight to the hip because I don't want to really give anybody any bright ideas all the time. But now I'm at a point in my career is like, wow, I want to give everybody the Big Mac sauce. Because if you could do it on your own, great. Give me kudos, send me a testimonial. If you can't do it on your own based off of me pointing you in the right direction, then join my program.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not saying I wouldn't want to do it on my own. I just want to be wary of like scams. I think buyers they get when they want the hope, right? They want the hope that they could buy a house, and then someone tells them, hey, your credit's not where it needs to be. Maybe they start hearing someone that's saying you can do all these different things to improve your credit, and it'll. We used to have something called rapid rescore in the mortgage industry, where the mortgage or the loan officer would submit those dispute letters and
I
try
think
to
I still see that out
massage.
there.
They still have it. I think they still have it. Yeah, they massage the credit score a little bit. They get it up to where it needs to be 640 for FHA. If there's a minimum that they need, they'll work to get to that minimum in order to get them a better rate. Where it impacts buyers is their actual interest rate. It could get impacted by the score that they're submitting, or when they apply, that's their score at the time. So I was curious on what you thought would be some of the scams that people can look out for. I did read something that said that you shouldn't go with someone that promises a result, because we don't really know what those results are going to be. We can't outthink the algorithm. The algorithms that these banks use, or even like the credit reporting bureaus, we can't necessarily outthink them, but we can work with them.
I'll challenge that thought. You can outthink them because they're giving you the formula, right? You have the credit formula. You know what to do. You know what not to do. You know that if I delete a collection, it can, like if you do simulations, deleting a collection can probably estimate between 20 and 30 points. Mm-hmm. If you lower utilization on a card, like when they do a rapid rescore, the rapid rescore works because, let's say if I remove the collection and they paid down their credit cards, because before the credit cards were 98% maxed out, now they're at a 0 utilization. Their debt to income is going to go significantly down. Their score is going to go significantly up. So they'll do a rapid rescore in that instance. But I think that to challenge that thought, we can absolutely manipulate the system. Absolutely. By letting your bills build your credit. Every 91 days, requesting credit limit increases on your cards. Monitoring your credit. Setting up fraud alert and credit freezes if you're not active with your credit. Right? You could be proactive versus reactive is what I'm saying.
Okay. So, are there ever times when someone should reduce their available credit? Like sometimes people will say, "I just want to close the card. I just want to close the card." That negatively impacts them.
Never.
So I want you to talk a little bit about that.
Never. If you lose it, if you don't use it, you lose it. If a card is inactive and it's not being having any history on it, and it's your oldest card, right? And let's say your oldest card is from 2008. And then your next oldest card is 2021. You went a whole 13 years without really thinking you needed a new credit card. Now, because you were using cash and debit for everything, you forgot about the card. You don't even have the card, and you didn't even know if it was open or not. Now you go to see your credit and you say the card is closed due to it being inactive. Guess what? You lost all that history.
Okay.
So what I say...
when people get tripped up a lot of times people get tripped up by getting the store credit card incentive. Like if I shop at Torrid, if I shop at Home Depot, they offer me a credit card. Does that ever impact me? Like talk to me about like these store.
That's a great question. That's a great question. And you know what? I think that this is great because you're working in the real estate industry, being an advisor to buyers and sellers and renters, and you are not the only one that has these type of questions, but you are the most vulnerable to allow this to be an educational session. So Angie, you're the best. Thank you so much for allowing me to share. And so I believe there is a big need for those retail cards. I believe people have to set healthy boundaries when they're shopping. I believe that people should let their bills build their credit, right, Angie? So let's say if you're going to Walmart, if you go to Costco, if you go to Macy's, if you go to BJ's, I want you to have a credit card from them because those are where you're buying mostly. I don't want you to use cash or debit at the point of sale. So if they have a rewards card and you're going to get a discount, absolutely. If you're going to get a line of credit, absolutely. So if you're buying clothes, if you're a pastor or, like you're always buying new clothes because, it could be a write-off, it could be your uniform, whatever. I think that again, going back to it, letting your bills build your credit. So some people go crazy. They'll go apply like 5, 7 stores. And that's where I think you were alluding to. You have
Yeah.
all these credit cards with all these limits and all these balances, and you're overwhelmed and you can't manage it all. And now you're not using it. And then things get inactive, and then things get lost in the sauce. And then you forget that there was an annual fee for this, city card for $39 that just slipped your mind, and you didn't pay it because it was a zero balance, but you didn't know there was an annual fee because the city card was connected to Best Buy, and you don't go to Best Buy because you moved away, that there's no Best Buy near you. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, it
So
happens.
I say that to say that let your bills build your credit. Wherever you buy, you should get a card from there. Protect yourself. Stop using your debit card. Stop using your cash. I believe that you should have between 5 to 7 core credit cards at once. So I got my Discover, I got my Amex, I got my Capital One, I got my Citi, I got my Wells Fargo. I got my 5. Easily. Now, we always getting, going to buy clothes for the kids in the mall sometimes. So a children's place, I'll get a children's place credit card, $10,000. If I ever get into a situation, I have 5 kids, Angie, I'm not sure if you knew that. And sometimes maybe my money's a little bit low and it's August and I need to buy clothes and book bags and I'm getting a check in September, but I can't wait for my check in September to buy my clothes in August. But I did my budget plan and I could spend $300 of the money that's coming in September. So let me use my children's place credit card to get my children my clothes because I know that next month I've already did my budget. I'm going to pay off whatever I use. You get it?
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes credit cards could be a safe haven. Dave Ramsey, he big with Financial Peace University. I was certified. I took Dave Ramsey's class many, many, many years ago. For those that don't know, Dave Ramsey, look him up. He's really big in finance and credit and debt. Talks about snowballing and amazing stuff. He talks about a nerd versus a free spirit. And I think that you could be a little bit of both. I think you could be a financial nerd, but you could be a little bit free spirit. So what I do every year, Angie, is I'll do a 6-month projection of my expenses.
Okay.
So January to June, I'm going to do a 6-month spread. I got my children's birthday in March, my children's birthday in April. I got my daughter's birthday in August. I got my anniversary here. I got this vacation there. I already know for the next 6 months that I've already projected my life. Now it's up to me to make sure that I'm not overspending and doing things that are not in my priority list. So it's not about credit repair. It's really about understanding how the pizza pie is made and setting healthy boundaries and strategies to let your bills build your credit. Really, what I'm trying to do, Angie, I'm trying to change the narrative, right? I think a lot of people, they don't know. They're going to TikTok videos. They're desperate. And they're paying these fees for agencies that are not responding and not doing things ethically by following up. I think that if you don't follow up, that's already an unethical practice, right? And so no need to say any names, no need to compare. We don't need that energy. We're not about that energy. We want to meet people where they are. We want to help them. We want to show them the light at the end of the tunnel. And we want to make sure that they understand the why.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching this on a Money Monday and a Lunch and Learn and you're thinking about investing in real estate in 2026 and you may or may not be prepared, who's on your team? How's your credit? What's your debt to income ratio? Who's your loan officer? Who are your advisors? And if you don't have a team of advisors, we're here for you.
Yeah.
So as we're rounding third base, Angie, I hope I was able to answer any of those questions.
Yeah, you did. I got to go back and listen. I got to make sure I picked up on all the points. I know I'm a free spirit, though. When you were talking about what type of a spender you are, I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely a free spirit. I don't necessarily set up that budget, but I do, in fact, try to make sure that I don't overspend. So that's important.
Well, when I hear that, right? And again, you can identify with a lot of people watching. I'm a little bit of free spirit. I try not to overspend. But then in my mind, I would say, and you don't have to answer this, but this is just to like really unpack and think about. I would say, okay, I hear that. Well, for the last 5 months, what is your average break even of total cost of living? Someone will be like, oh, that's easy. That was about $7,000 a month. Oh, okay, impressive. How much was your income in the last 3 months? Are you able to save? Say, oh, you know what? My income was kind of tight. I'm not able to save as much as I want to. My credit card balances are gradually going up. I would go back to challenge that free spirit, doing a budget plan, setting a 6-month projection, allowing my budget plan to be my GPS. My budget plan is my GPS.
Mhm.
Now I'm a free spirit because I'm just following what the budget plan told me to do. So yes, but I do budget plans with people, teachers, doctors, architects, engineers, second generation immigrant, like all types of people you can't imagine. And when I tell them or show them what their actual break even is, and I'm like, Angie, did you know that you're averaging $10,000 a month and your expenses were $7,500? Are you saving $2,500 a month? And they'll look at me and laugh. And they'll be like, no, I'm not. And I'm like, but why? When I did your budget plan, we looked at your expenses. I see your gas. I see your cell phone. I see your eating out. I see your kids' activities. But how come you can't save if your income is this and your expenses are that? You know why? Because they don't know where their money is going.
Okay.
They don't know where their money is going. That's it. If you don't know your break even and you can't save and you don't know where your money is going because you can't track it, because you're using cash and debit for everything, well, guess what? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. So, Angie, what would you say would be our call to action? February 2026 is Monday. We're wrapping up our lunch and learn. What would you say would be the call to action for anybody that's watching?
I think if someone is in the process of thinking about wanting to buy a house, they should do a financial checkup. That's the first thing they should do. A lot of times they come to me first to look at a couple of houses to get interested. To me, this is like going to the dealership, doing the test drive of the car that you want, and then you backpedal to kind of figure out if you can finance that car. I'm like, wait a minute. Let's go find out if we can finance this car now before we go and we test drive those other cars or this car in general. So I feel like there is a little bit of a step back that people need to do to kind of review their financial history. That feels like going to the dentist for some people. And they hate that part because it's like where the rubber meets the road. It's the reality of what they can afford. And they want somewhat of the, I want the dream. I want the dream of home ownership. I want to know what that looks like. And I get it. That's important, right? You should know what you want. But you also got to backpedal and you got to take that financial step and saying, how much am I saving? What's my break even? Those are words that I don't think I had in my vocabulary, by the way. You added those words to me today. I don't even think as a realtor, I even had those words. I think what I'm doing is that I'm too much of a free spirit. So I have to like scale back and be a little bit more nerd-like, kind of like using the verbiage that you came up with today. And
that's
really,
Dave Ramsey. I didn't make that up, Angie. I wish, but I'm just giving him kudos.
Like I feel for people. I do. I feel for people. I'm a human just like them, so I know exactly what they're going through. I remember what it was like when I bought my first house, so I want to be able to really prepare people. So I created Say Yes to the Address. That's my own personal website because I want people to kind of come back and take, I believe in sustainability. I want people to be successful and I want them to be successful homeowners because I believe that helps community.
That's awesome. So again, I just want to remind everybody, please like, comment, share, and engage. If you have any questions, we are your resources here. And, as we're rounding third base, I can't believe it happened so fast. Angie, what would you say are your final thoughts as we're wrapping up today's Money Monday session?
I would say pause, take time to figure out your financial situation, and then put a budget together so that you have both savings, you have your down payment. Really take a couple steps back. Maybe, get yourself financially prepared.
Yeah. Well, folks, you heard it here, folks. Angie, don't go anywhere. Hang out with me in the afterglow. But I always end with a quote of the show. You cannot control the wave, but you can adjust the sail. I hope that you learned something new on this morning's and afternoon's Lunch and Learn. If you're watching us on the live again, hashtag live. If you're watching us on the replay, hashtag replay. Angie, thank you so much again for coming this afternoon. And I know we're going to do a lot of business this year. Take care, everybody. Bye.